Actually, I was thinking as we were sitting here, because we come from a science center, where interactivity and hands-on and physical activity is quite important, and we've been sitting down for almost, like, at least 2 days now, and we would definitely not think of that as the best way of learning where we come from. So I'm trying to get up and give you a new perspective on this. Anyways, we were trying to answer the question, so what's the state of the art of RI in Denmark, which is quite difficult because it's a very diverse picture, as it probably is in every hub. And we decided that we wanted to demonstrate it with 2 examples. And actually the first example is from Experimentarium itself, which is the Pulse project. Just gonna figure out how this works. Okay. Which is an interactive exhibition about health promotion. So this is about getting families to move. And the key term in both the projects that we're going to introduce today is involvement. So the kind of involvement that we have in this one is that we have user involvement. We take the users that are supposed to use this exhibit in the future and ask them to co-develop the exhibition with us. And normally at a Danish science center like Experimentarium, we're located in a very wealthy area, and quite often it's people from that socioeconomic status that come to our science center. And probably most of our products are developed to that target group as well. So in this case, we tried to involve people from different socioeconomic settings. So we had 2 different areas. We had the area that we're usually in, and we had an area of people who were from a less well-off area. And what we did was a number of different activities with them, where we used design games in order to involve them. We did some regular workshops, and we did some mise en scène, which is kind of like a little theater play where people have to play out, like, how do they imagine their future practice of doing these things? So how does that work with how they normally, how much workout they do, how they exercise, like what's the health practices in normally. And all of this goes through like iterative stages, and it ends up in the final exhibition design. And we actually just opened this exhibition a few weeks ago, and we had the users who were involved in this coming to our exhibition, and they actually said that it was quite funny to recognize some of the points that they had in the final design. And the interesting thing about this project is that, you can see it here. So it's a design game up there. We created very concrete involvement for people in order to participate. So they had to feel like they were there physically in order to establish, because we have one language and we have one way of developing things that of course they don't know. They're familiar with their own reality, not ours. So in order to kind of put them into our reality and help us design things, we made it very physical and concrete, so they had these little figures that they could play with and play it out. And today it's finished and people are using it. So we have these exhibits that are made for and by the users. And the interesting thing about this project is that, as you said in the beginning, like sometimes you do RI without knowing that it's actually RI. So there's elements of RI in this, but in our organization, in Experimentarium, it's not something that we've been doing a lot before. So we're starting slowly to do this, but it's not institutionalized. It's just something that now there's a couple of people who are aware of this and who know the methods of doing it, who knows the mindset, and that's actually a really good beginning. We're starting to see also with this project how it kind of emerges into the rest of organization, how all of a sudden the words are not so different and not so foreign as they used to be. So I think this is a really great example of leading by example in order to understand a really difficult mindset. And we have another practice from Caroline, my colleague. Yeah.
No. Yes, I have an example from business, and it's called Blueprint for Change program. It is a program designed to communicate the sustainable business strategy of the Danish-funded global healthcare company Novo Nordisk, and they work mainly in diabetes treatment. And I talked to the program director, who helped me understand what the aims are of this program and the outcomes, and also how it relates to RI. And he told me that Novo Nordisk has been striving for a long time to be in the vanguard of responsible and sustainable business conduct. And therefore, they in 2004 they implemented a sustainable business strategy based on the triple bottom line business principle, which states that they as a company must consider all their actions to be both socially, financially, and environmentally responsible. But it turned out that their shareholders got a little bit worried with this sustainable business take. So they found out that they needed to communicate this better, and how this sustainable business strategy could actually help create value for the company. So in 2013, they designed a communication program called Blueprint for Change. And in the program, it's described how all their thoughts and reflections about how this can help create what they call shared value, which is a more like collaborative way of thinking about creating value. And it's not only economical value, but also social value. And it's very concerned with how a company affects society. And as an extension of this program, they also created a series of case studies where they examine how they as a company create value in their practice through this value creation. And the majority of these cases are central around their diabetes treatment, where they work as consultants for countries. For example, they go in and they map the stakeholder needs through interviews with doctors and patients and societies. And then it's described how the value is created, and through, for example, improvement of life quality or better medical practice, but also how this helps them as a company to create value through, for example, opening up of new markets of undiagnosed diabetics. And they have also done some other case studies about their CO2 reduction strategy and how clinical research create different kinds of value. I'll not go into that any further. I just wanted to say that the program director told me that this has actually become a very valuable tool for them in order to understand their own praxis and the drivers of their shared value creation, and also help them realize how they can optimize this value creation. And then they're very interested in sharing this with all their stakeholders, also their shareholders, of course. But they also want to inspire others. So this is very important for Novo Nordisk, that what started out as a program to communicate to shareholders actually has become a very valuable tool for them as a company in regards of being more reflected and better at creating shared value. Do you have any final comments?
Yeah, what is interesting when things are coming together, like when we're looking into the different practices, our own as well as others, when we're looking into a big company like this. So what are the differences? Even though both projects has a strong focus on involvement, we see different motivations. There's responsibility at the Blueprints for Change, which is quite important, whereas in Pulse, actually, the goal wasn't responsibility, it was just transforming our visitors, so that took access in the kind of practice that we have. There's different degrees of institutional change in relation to responsibility. So Novo Nordisk, the big company, has seen like a purpose of doing RI. They actually see economic value, whereas at Experimentarium,
1 minute left.
At Experimentarium, we still find that it's something that takes resources rather than adding something a lot to the processes that we usually do. So the mindset is very different there. And we have different narratives about how we talk about it and how well this narrative is distributed in the organization. We, of course, have a a huge hub strategy for how we do things. Some of you have seen on Basecamp that we have talked about going to Roskilde Festival, which is a huge musical festival where we're going to involve hub members in developing the products or the posters and the communication design for the festival. And if you have any questions about that, please just find any of us. We're a huge group today because we felt that it would be good to meet all of you and see all of you and talk all of you about this important topic. So just say hello to us or email me and we'll talk more. Thank you.